evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's call. Again, we will kick off the way that we always do. We are Elysium, and we believe the future is a gift. The problem is that AI is changing everything, and it is becoming increasingly harder to adapt, both from a business and a personal individual perspective. So because of that, our purpose is to prove that if you're a business or an individual that's been affected by the change, you can reinvent yourself. Very excited this week. We've got Gina, who is going to be talking us through her experience thus far running an audit for one of Jesse's oldest clients, I think. And I've been lucky enough to be part of that process and on the periphery, and I'm keen to hear Gina's brutal thoughts on how it's all going. We will get to that. I'll throw to Ollie and Michelle to maybe give us a bit of a worldly update first before we dive in, or any pearls of wisdom. I've been pretty nose deep this week in trying to organise. We've had some great catch-ups working with some new development talent on getting Ellie up to a standard that we think is going to be beta test worthy, which is really exciting. So I've been kind of nose to the grindstone on doing a number of those bits and pieces, other than a wonderful Builders Club, which I'm very keen to hear about. What else has happened in the past week?
Yeah, so I was mentioning to Ollie and Alex this morning that I had read this fascinating article in Australia where Deloitte, which is a huge consultancy agency here, had been doing some work for the Australian government. The Australian government does outsource a lot to external companies, private companies. Now, Deloitte has actually had to refund about $440,000 to the Australian government for AI reports that were presented that include fake data and actually wrong information. And it really sort of, I think, ties in with this new report that has been released by MIT that actually shows that 95% of AI pilots are actually failing at boosting productivity and company profits. Absolutely fascinating data, particularly as a lot of these are from large enterprises. And I think this is a really great feed into Gina's presentation today, because I think it shows how at Elysium we're trying to do something different. We're approaching it from a different angle. Our very thorough audit and discovery process is aimed to help you avoid the costly mistakes that 95% of companies, according to MIT, are making with their AI implementation. It's about understanding your business intimately, your workflows, your pain points, your actual needs, and then we enable you to deliver bespoke solutions that genuinely improve productivity and reduce the burden on your business. I think there seems to be a lot of issues with major failures, oversights, cancelling out benefits, the constant need to check AI errors. And, you know, I just think it's absolutely fascinating. I would have, in my opinion, I would have thought that this would have been something that would have applied more to small business than large enterprise. But according to MIT, AI adoption in large enterprise is declining, and project cancellations are taking place. So I think that's a great lead-in for Gina, who's presenting our first, I guess, live audit and discovery today to show what we're doing at Elysium that's different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did some research into some notable examples of AI hallucinations. There's quite a few already. In 2023, there was an attorney called Stephen Schwartz who used ChatGPT to generate a brief that cited non-existent legal precedents, which the judge found out. So he got fined $5,000. Air Canada used a chatbot in 2024. And some customer was asking about refund policies, and the chatbot just made it all up on the spot. Then there's obviously the Deloitte one from Australia. Microsoft's fallen to it as well, from an article they put out about Ottawa's food bank was listed as a top tourist destination recommending visits on an empty stomach.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But the most expensive one was the one that Google fell to in 2023 in a promotional demo, where their piece of software, Bard, falsely claimed that the James Webb Telescope had been the first to capture images of an exoplanet, ignoring the fact that we'd actually done that in 2007. And that caused Alphabet stock to drop by $100 billion in a day.
Wow.
So if you're having a bad day, at least you haven't lost $100 billion.
Wow, amazing.
It's all, I mean, it just points to one of the many reasons why we're doing what we're doing, right? A couple of good examples in the chat there. Red Knot. I'm so bad at that, aren't I?
Ed on his name. It's okay.
I literally just called him Ed Knot too.
Love it.
He points out these are just the ones that we know about because someone caught them, right? How many are there that aren't? I think, look, the hallucination thing, I think will get better. But to Michelle's original point, I think the key here is that you can't build a solution for a problem you don't know exists, right? The biggest one of the best ways to waste money in a business is to make an assumption, right? If you assume that the biggest bottleneck in your business is a booking system, right, and you go and you pay a ton of money for an AI-led booking system, and then you realize post fact that it wasn't actually the booking system, it was something else, without knowing where the root cause of a problem is, you are a walk-up startup, in particular with the advances in AI and what's going on, and everyone's getting really excited and there's a bit of FOMO and all the rest of it. You have a real opportunity to go and waste a ton of money as a business trying to create solutions to problems that you are assuming are the root cause of, be it not enough revenue or inflated costs or whatever. And part of what we are doing with this, in particular the AI audit and discovery process, is really diving in to facts and actually understanding what's going on in a business. Almost every single audit that we have done in venture tech, we have discovered an inefficiency or a root cause of a particular problem, not all the problems, that the owners of the business or the executives in the business had no idea was the cause. And when we map it out and we put it in black and white on a piece of paper in front of them, they go, well, of course that's the cause. But we had no idea that that was it. We thought it was 3 steps down the line. And so, Michelle, to your point, I think, where I see, or where we see the power in what we're providing is more in knowledge and the development of that knowledge than the solution itself. The solutions themselves will become very vanilla and very easy to implement, but there is no point in creating a solution or buying a solution for a problem that you don't have. And I think that's critical. Nick has a great example in the chat as well about the hallucinations or the rogue AI. There was a dealership that had a chatbot get tricked into giving a car out for free because the person asked nicely. I love that. Sounds like one of my children asking for an extra chocolate, but anyway. All right. Michelle, do you want to maybe give Gina, we know Gina very well. I'm sure most people know Gina very well, but for those that don't, maybe a little introduction to Gina, and then Gina, you can tell us how you're going with your current AI audit and discovery process.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's our great pleasure actually to present Gina. We're incredibly excited to have someone of Gina's caliber on today. I don't think it's any coincidence that she is technically our first agency owner, and a huge privilege for us. So thank you, Gina. And I think she's going to have some invaluable insights. And more than anything, I think it's really exciting. I think in this space, particularly in Web3, there's lots of talk and lots of ideas that get thrown around. I think what's so pivotal for us today to actually have the audit and discovery process as a test case to be implemented to actually show that we do have a genuine product. And here we are getting genuine feedback from our first tester. So Gina, without further ado, I'm sure Gina will be able to present a little bit more about her background. I don't want to say anything that's not quite right, Gina, so apologies. Yeah, the incredible Gina, we are delighted to have you here today. So please start your presentation.
You're so kind. Hi, everybody. So I, yes, have the privilege of being the first beta tester as an agency owner of the Elysium product. So I feel like I'm getting like white glove beta experience because I have Alex, who, call me Al. I still haven't tried it yet to call him Al.
I should change that on my profile here too.
Hoda and Ali. Yeah, I guess a little bit of context about my background. So I have worked in startups, in nonprofits, in enterprise. So, I mean, the world of LinkedIn, I speak LinkedIn, but I have no experience in running audits. Very new to AI, would not call myself an AI expert. So what's really attractive is this concept that I could have some scaffolding through this product, like some hand-holding to be able to turn around and deliver world-class audits without necessarily being a world-class AI expert. So knowing, it's a privilege to beta test. There are certainly some rough edges, but it's been amazing, the output that we've seen. I'm still, say, halfway through this first audit. So it's not that I have, here's the complete result of it, but just kind of getting in there to tangle with an actual client and the Elysium product has been really interesting to see the results. I guess I can start with,
sorry, I was just going to ask a quick question. Can you just give people an idea what activities you've taken to date to get, call it, halfway through the process? What have you actually done?
Yeah. So backing up toward the beginning, we have this client, Definitive, who is an old client of Jesse's. And so I'm sure that the sales cycle was a little bit accelerated because there's so much trust there. We also, so we had a discovery meeting, Al and Jesse and the CEO of this company and myself, to run through what is the audit process, what is the output that the client will receive at the end of the process, what kind of resources will they need to spend in terms of let us talk to their head of sales, let us talk to their data person, like what will that look like for the company, and then what what are their choices afterwards. So we had a discovery call where high level we're checking in with, how's business? What's the pain point? And we're not getting too into the weeds, but we're hearing from the CEO themselves. What is interesting is to Michelle's point. He pointed to a lot of reluctance within the organization. They've been through cycles of consultants where everybody's excited and the consultant takes a lot of time to understand what the business is and ultimately point to a solution, and then the people who are there might run with the solution only so long as the consultant is actively in process. So there's some reluctance and I think some suspicion about somebody else coming in to poke around and ask a lot of questions. And some people are protective of their workflows, of course, their roles or the way they think things should be done. This is a 50-year-old company, so there are a lot of legacy systems and a lot of people who have been there for 20 plus years. So it's not, I guess, green space. And I know that's something that Red Knot.
Yeah. Just while you're on the subject of suspicion, do you think is it just the sort of baseline suspicion that many of us have who have worked with consultants in the past? Or is there an AI component too?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, and I've worked with consultants before where it's like, that is a beautiful PowerPoint you presented to me one time. Like, you are not actually making my day better in terms of adding real value. The people that we've talked with so far, and I personally have talked with 3 people in the company, they have a general sense that, you know, AI is coming. They have a sense their business is doing not as well as in years past. One of them uses ChatGPT personally. But so for the people who we've engaged with so far, there's AI enthusiasm. They're not seeing it as a threat. I think they're also recommending who in the company that we talk to, because I'm sure there are people in the company who would feel much more threatened or skeptical, or so far we're kind of getting we're cruising along the enthusiasts route. So we haven't gotten the pushback yet. And I think they've already also moved some people out of the organization recently. So it's nice that we can be present after that's happened rather than before that's happened. So we're not seen as
the root cause.
Yeah. Come on, root cause.
Can I make a quick comment there, Gina, just to Ed's point?
Yeah.
We have run and continue to run a lot of audits. It's fascinating to see. You would expect that, you know, when walking in to do an AI and discovery process and audit, that you kind of feel a little bit like Darth Vader, right? Walking in and everyone's expecting, you know, nothing but pain and suffering. But when you walk in under the guise of, we're here to show you how to utilize AI to make your job easier, more efficient, and more productive, the vast majority of people get excited about it, right? Because I think there's this assumption that people's default goes to, shit, I'm going to lose my job, right? The reality is that's not the assumption people jump to. The assumption people jump to is, oh my God, all that stuff that I hate doing, I'm going to be able to push onto something else. I'm going to do the stuff that I actually enjoy doing in my job. Right? And we always try to focus on that. When we deliver an audit report, very rarely do we deliver a report that says, right, that whole department there, get rid of them, not needed. Those two people there, they're useless, blah, 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 right? What we generally do is focus more on the positive of, okay, if you implement these changes, those 6 salespeople over there, instead of spending 50% of their time on administration, that's 50% of their time that they can increase going and seeing people and increasing your sales as a result. And it has a profound effect on their attitude towards getting the information to be able to show them how to do that.
I think I just remember super quickly, I think it was either Jesse or Mikey, and it's always stayed with me, made a comment along the lines of, AI is not coming for your jobs, it's coming for your tools. And I just thought that was such a great line.
Yeah. Sorry, Gina, I interrupted.
Oh, no. I encourage all interruptions. I'd rather have this be a conversation than a monologue. So yes, and with Definitive, the core belief is that your experience should be extraordinary. And so they have a very unique sales team in terms of their relationships with their customers. Like, been texting back and forth for 20 years, come over, have a glass of wine, listen to records with me on the system that you sold me. Like, that is a very special dynamic. And so the value prop for the salespeople is, wouldn't you love to stop punching in individual credit cards numbers every time you have a sale, because that is what they do right now, so that they can serve up better, more relevant recommendations to their clients. It'll be fun to talk about just in a few conversations, all of these kind of friction points of these everyday things that they have to do that, I guess, just between legacy and inertia, and that's the way it's been always done. They don't always realize, like, you don't have to punch in credit card numbers. Really, there's a better way. One that's certainly will not replace you or your job or your relationships with your customers. Will just free you up for higher value.
Absolutely. So Gina, when going through this process, and you know, I appreciate you thinking you've kind of had a white glove experience with the beta testing. One question I have for you is, knowing the process that you are going through from, the 7 phases and the 23 steps, which you're familiar with, and the outputs that are required. At this stage, do you feel like you need to have in-depth AI experience and in-depth consulting experience to be able to run this audit properly? Or is it intuitive enough to be able to simply go, well, I'm just following the bouncing ball here, and it makes sense that I go from this step to this step, then this step to this step, and so on and so forth? Or is it somewhere in between?
It's somewhere in between, and I'll give more detail into that. So some of this, my experience throughout, because I also am a perfectionist, I want to do things right. There's this anxiety that, is this enough? Am I getting enough interviews? Did I get enough data? Like, to what extent do I need to fill the bucket with enough information so that the report at the end is as relevant as possible? Because as we were discussing at the top of the call, these AI implementations, one size does not fit all. They have to be very, very personalized to be relevant, to be effective. So I just want to make sure that we're hitting that bar. But that being said, it's been amazing how insightful the product is just based on one conversation. So for example, let's see here. So process-wise, we had a discovery call with the CEO, talk him through the process, and then went back and put together a proposal. So I recorded the discovery call, and then for the proposal, loaded the transcript into Elysium, and then so this is the challenge and opportunity. This is very high level after one conversation with the CEO. So we can see kind of where are the friction points, and generally speaking, where is the opportunity in solving this with AI. So it was fun to be able to say, one conversation, this is already the depth of insight that we have for you, and we haven't even started.
Yeah. So this is a really interesting point, because when you start to then move throughout the process, and I'm constantly impressed with the output, because what we do is the more transcripts and the more interviews you have, when you add them together, the output is so incredibly insightful, right? Incredibly insightful, to the point where we had a situation about 2 weeks ago where 2 completely different departments in a business were doing 2 completely different things, but through simple conversation, we didn't spot it in the conversation. They were both doing one particular thing to do with emails and bits and pieces that was totally inefficient, right? But it was the same root cause for both. And there was about 6 or 7 people involved, right? And so by simply putting the transcripts together and feeding it into the beast, what occurred was it came out and it said immediately, your number 1 priority is to do this. And we were like, why would you do that? And then we kept reading, and it became really clear that 6 or 7 people within the company were wasting at least an hour a day in totally different departments, totally unaware that they were all doing it with each other, right? And you don't get that level of analysis to the depth that you need unless you're kind of doing it in this fashion. And so, Gina, we're definitely going to need to have a follow-up further down the process to see what happens for the output from the Elysium product from a solution ideation perspective, right? Because once you've got 5, 6, 7 transcripts and you put it all in and you say, right, give me the top 10 things that this company is doing that's stupidly inefficient, or is going to stop them from getting their sales goal, or is going to prevent them from reducing their costs, whatever those elements are that you highlight, you will be blown away by the depth. And the beauty of the system is you can say, okay, number 3, I don't remember that. tell me exactly when that came to light. And it turns around and says, well, in your call with Dave, about the 1 hour mark, he said this. And then I matched that to what Kylie said. And then Linda down the road in finance also said something else in her interview. And it's to get to that depth in a traditional consulting capacity is damn near impossible or really fucking expensive.
Totally. And back to your question of, is it just kind of holding my hand through the process? The first person that the CEO set us up with was their data person. And so going into that, you know, I couldn't tell you SQL queries, like that's not my world. I know what data I would need as a salesperson to do my job, as a GM to do my job. Like I'm used to asking for the dashboards that I would need for information on the metrics to act. But I mean, you know, ask me to pull up a data extraction layer. I'm like, I don't know. So I was going into this data conversation, like, what am I asking here? And then I asked Elysium, what do I ask here? And then it told me what to ask. And I wasn't too worried about even understanding fully what Tim's answers would be for me, because I knew we were recording, there was a transcript, I would upload that. What was that, Nick? Yes. So yes, didn't necessarily need to understand all the ins and outs of Tim's answers around the data, because I trusted that I could relay all that information into the product and the product would tell me like what I needed to understand about it or not. So, so just right before talking with Tim, pulled this list of questions, and then we actually had the conversation with him and learned something that will come up on all of the critical like prioritization of problems to solve, is that because this company has a very legacy, antiquated data system, there's nobody knows how to access information out of it. So just Tim's the guy. And Tim's hired. So if Tim doesn't get you the data, you have no way to get that data for yourself. What were sales yesterday? Don't know, unless Tim tells me. You want to add anything to that?
Well, yeah, no, it was a fascinating call, and I was lucky enough to be on it. And Tim was such a generous interviewee too, with both his time and the information, because he recognized where the shortfalls were, right? This guy's taking his laptop on vacations and he's retired, so that he can make sure that he can get the information out. Now, what's super interesting here is the point you were making around not having to be the expert, Gina, right? We have done audit and discovery processes and have clients in such a vast array of different industries, different product types, all sorts of services, and so on and so forth. We are not experts in a particular silo, a particular industry, or anything like that. But what we can do and what we are able to do is simply have a conversation and be curious. If you can have a conversation, if you can be curious and collect the information along the way, you can run one of these audits. And I think that's a really powerful point, because the reality is the product is the expert.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then my next stakeholder interview was with Kristen, who runs marketing. She's a one-person marketing team for the company, plus the company acquired a different company recently. So it's now the one person for both of these companies that have different systems. And I did ask her the data question, if you need something and Tim is on a beach, doesn't answer, Mai Tai, what do you do? And her answer was just like, I wait for him to be done.
So I think the point here is, and it's a great point, already only halfway through the process, you intuitively are spotting where the solutions potentially are, right? And where the opportunity lies. What's going to be really interesting, because, and I know this from experience, is at the end, yes, that might be number one as the highlighted, this is the thing you've got to fix. But numbers 3, 7, 9, and 10 might completely catch you off guard and be of super interest to the client. And it's that depth of analysis, going back to that really is the power behind the system, I think.
The next thing I'll share is a little bit outdated, but I was just asking Elysium, like, okay, so where am I exactly? Which steps are completed? Which artifacts have been finalized? I know that I haven't finished all my interviews yet, so some of these artifacts will get updated as I get more and more information, but like, where am I? One, I'll say that I've done this, I've asked this question multiple times because it seems like it wants steps to be super complete. For example, there was an item where you have a kickoff meeting and then signed meeting minutes. But like, I don't have signed meeting minutes, but we had the kickoff. So it wasn't totally considering that as complete. You know, I like its attention to detail though.
It's very detailed.
So this gives an idea of, okay, well, there are many steps, and as I go, I'm loading in the transcripts, and it's developing some artifacts, even if they're, you know, living documents that are only in draft state. And then, so this is a while back that this list, we're like further along than this, but just one gives you a sense of how detailed the steps are, and then where at any given time I can check in, like, where are we?
So Gina, one of the things that we've discovered along the way here, not just with you but ourselves, is yes, it's incredibly detailed and it wants to be perfect all the way. What's really interesting is you can get to a certain point where if there's a whole lot of stuff that you've missed, you can ask it the critical question of, have I got enough? Have I got enough to be impactful in my report here? Because you keep telling me I need to go back and speak to Dave. Dave's on vacation. I'm not going to be able to get to Dave. Have we got enough? And if we do, just tell me what assumptions we're making that we need to clarify with Dave down the track. And so it does, and this is the whole point of beta testing, which I love, right, is finding out things like, you know, it wanted to know what I wanted for breakfast before it had moved to the next step, you know, way too much detail. And so we can tweak all those different things and we can work on all of that. But generally speaking, is the progress you're making following the path that the product is kind of guiding you down, or are you finding that you want to leap forward or go back to certain stages?
It is generally a step by step. I think because there are so many different artifacts, and that they're all going to get versioned as you learn more and more information. Sometimes it's just a lot to understand, like, where I'm at, even though steps are complete. It will just continue to get refined. And it's not like the output is 3 documents. It's super comprehensive. So it's just a lot of data to keep organized and understand. But yes, the product is saying, and if I'm unsure of anything, I can just ask it, like, which documents will change once I have the sales team's input. And here's this bit where it, is the right one? Is showing, like, this is also an older version, but like, Tim, a single point of failure. We can all agree. But then it'll go down and at any given point pull out, you know, our focus areas, and prioritizing how critical it is to the business that this problem be solved. The recommended phasing, like, it its outputs are very sophisticated. Like, maybe Deloitte didn't do a great job for the Australian government, but
Elysium's doing a great job for Definitive.
That's right.
So one of the things that we're working on in the background here, Gina, and it would be interesting to do this for Definitive. It might be a little bit further down the track. We're trying to implement a complexity score at the start of the process, right? And what that complexity score measures is everything about the kickoff call and all the research and all the information you gather at the start of the process to determine, is this going to be a client who needs the full 23-step process here because they have a certain amount of revenue, a certain amount of turnover, rather, a certain amount of staff, a number of different siloed areas within the business. Are they, are we including manufacturing in the assessment and so on and so forth? And what we will then do is, based on that complexity score, we might have a fork in the road, right? And if it's not that complex, it's a 10 out of 100. There's 3 people in the business. They're relatively large, but they're a typical SMB that has great revenue, some costs and some inefficient processes. Let's go down path 1. And it might be that it's not the full 23 steps. We skip over certain steps and we really simplify some of the artifacts and some of the data required for other steps so that we can get to a point earlier of being able to really do a proper assessment and start to plan out solutions. Maybe a middle of the road step and then a right hand or a much more complicated, in-depth and far more analysis required process as well. So I think that will probably help where it might feel like it's been way too thorough. I mean, I'd rather be over thorough certainly to begin with than not, but it's some really interesting and valuable feedback for us. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, it's fun to see how many quick wins are possible. Like as a consultant, like you want to deliver value as soon as possible and just be like, here is this array of easy, quick, inexpensive solves, and then to be able to build trust with that, like, it's kind of trying to go through this and be like, aha, we can help you.
What's really interesting too is the way that the product works, certainly at the moment, and I hope this continues depending on how we tweak things, but it's not completely biased to wanting to build a bespoke solution. We've got a client we're doing an audit for at the moment, and they're a very large manufacturer and distributor of PowerPoints and USB points, right? Fascinating business, super exciting. But what's been really interesting is throughout the collection of the data systems process, it highlighted a particular system that they have doing one thing within the business that has the capability to do a ton of other things in the business that they just haven't got underneath the hood enough to realize and to discover. And so we're almost towards we're at the pointy end of the audit, and it looks like it's going to actually recommend over a bespoke solution that 80% of what they need to solve can be solved by existing software. They just need to do it better, right? Which is an important point, because I think, when sitting down with a prospective client and saying, right, we're going to charge you to do an audit, then we're going to charge you to build and implement stuff, and then we're going to charge you to come back and make sure that it keeps working. People can get their back up a little bit, right? But when there's proof points of being able to sit there and say, but at the end of the audit, if we discover that there is no solution, or there's an existing solution that we don't need to charge you for, that is still a priority for us, right? And it'd be really interesting to see if there's anything internally, because I remember in one of those calls it might have even been with Tim, there was a comment there at one stage where he said there's new bits and pieces and systems that people implement here, there and everywhere. When they find a new shiny thing, there's every chance that a new shiny thing somewhere in that business could solve a lot of their problems.
Yeah, and I don't know if so just talking with their marketing person, there are legacy systems from Definitive and then legacy systems for the new acquisition, and I think she has so much work as a one-person team that even if she recognizes that XYZ are all good ideas, they've just been kind of on the to-do list for years. So there might be some lingering solutions that they've even know already, but they just needed the data to justify prioritizing it more.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? But you've nailed the word, prioritization. One of the biggest and most powerful things that gets the biggest reaction from our clients is the prioritization of where the solutions sit. I mean, again, none of this is rocket science, right? A lot of the time when we sit down and we present, they look at a list of 10 things that they could potentially do to be more efficient or get more sales or whatever. And they go, I know every single one of those. I know we need to do all of that. But I didn't know that what you have as priority number 1 was the most important, because I had that as priority 42, because the person who's running that whinges the least at me, right? And it's a really powerful part of the process. Very, very thorough, Gina, so far. Loving it. Is there anything else you want to kind of talk us through? I'm conscious of time. I know Jesse's snuck into the room. He might be out and about and not able to jump in and say hi. Oh, no, there he is. Always. Jesse, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good to see you too. I've just enjoyed listening to. I haven't heard any of these updates from Gina, so it's actually helpful for me to hear the updates as well.
Excellent, excellent. I was going to say, have you had any sideline feedback from Sean or any of the guys on how it's going?
I have not, and you will know when you get feedback from Sean. It'll be very clear and concise, and so we'll know when we get feedback. But yeah, it's fun to. I didn't know that this was coming together so fast, so this is awesome. I've been working on other stuff.
Yeah, cool. Gina, thank you. Is there anything else you want to kind of highlight as part of the process that's been interesting so far? Like I said, we're going to definitely do this again further down the path. But is there anything else?
Yes, I'm looking forward to a part 2. I think because I haven't gotten yet to the point where it will calculate, and I trust that it will, but calculate these ROI numbers for if you choose to move forward with recommendation number 1, the investment is this much and your payback period is less than 2 months, or your payback period for this audit itself is like half
already done.
Yeah.
So that part of the process is a fun one to go through, and there is a little bit of manual lifting that Elysium doesn't do. It'll make assumptions, but and that's around the cost of development, because there's lots of different ways that you can do it. There's lots of different people that can do it, and you know what we do at the moment, it's a part of the Elysium product that we're working on in the background to solve, but and you know, it has to do with the marketplace and all that sort of stuff we've spoken about before. But we've got a suite of developers that we use that when it's becoming clear later in the process what solutions might look like, we start to bring them in and say, hey, here's what we're thinking, can you give me a ballpark? The very first part of the build and deployment process is the actual scoping, right? So it's always estimates that we give in terms of what it would cost. That those estimates get much better at being close to the mark the more you do, and the more relationship you build with your developers as well, because you know, over time, and as I've said before, we've had to kiss a few frogs. We get developers that say, yeah, it'll be 10 grand, and by the time they actually do it, it's 20 grand, and you're like, well, there goes all my margin. So that part of the process will come to light, but it is really fun putting those numbers in front of a client and saying, not only will you get all your money back really quickly, you will also be making much more money much sooner as well.
Yeah, we'll have a party.
Which is really cool.
No.
Excellent. All right. Well, Gina, on behalf of everyone, in particular Ollie and Michelle and myself, thank you so much for that update. That was really comprehensive, and I think a good bit of feedback from a beta testing perspective. And I can't wait to get more people in using the product and going through the same scenario.
Thank you so much to Gina for presenting today. Incredibly exciting. Yep. Like, I know, we have, as founders, we have endless meetings, and, we know what's being built. And as a business owner, I couldn't be more excited for what's being built. But to see it in action today with Gina is wow, like to actually see it. And I think it's interesting when I talk about it in my business network communities, a lot of people are just like, yeah, because they hear a lot. They hear a lot of promises. They hear a lot of potential solutions, and it's incredibly overwhelming. And I think to actually see that today and actually being executed was incredibly exciting. I defy anyone today not on this call to not be excited by that. It was very much like the builders this week, seeing what what Dom presented, and I think what Johnny presented. I think the traction that's being gained now it's incredibly exciting. It's a great time to be alive, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I echo those comments. Thank you, Gina. Ollie, what do we do now? Do we want to throw it to the floor?
Just before we do that, I just wanted to talk about what we set up with the other page badges. Sorry. So if you didn't see, see, Nick wasn't here last week. He's only just heard about it because I mentioned it. So we created a community on the open page platform, and you can look for it under the name Elysium. And we've created a couple of badges already, one for the OGs, which lasts another month. So go in and claim that one, because that'll show us who our best friends were as we began this whole process. Last week's claim has got another day to go, because I went to render the show from last week and it crashed my computer, and I haven't got back to fixing that. So I've extended that by a day, and then today's one as well. To claim the badge, you click on it, come in and enter the code. And the codes are actually here. They will be 5-digit codes that are kind of hard to remember, and that way you won't be able to guess them, because I could have put in like Gina as a code, but that'll only work once, and then it's easy to guess. So those are the codes. You can write them down. Come back to this recording later. I'll make sure to get this show out in the next couple of days for those who want to watch on the replay. But you take B4LFR, for example, and once you've connected your accounts, you just add in here B4LFR, and then you submit it. That's part of the process. The second thing is you have to scroll down and click claim. And once you've claimed that badge now belongs to you. So that's what we're doing with the open page platform. It's a great way to build community and collect your badges as we go through our lifespan. So yeah, let's go do that.
Unreal. Well done. Maybe Gina needs a special presenter's badge, Ollie.
She does.
What do you reckon? Maybe it could be
Gina's
avatar on a floating coin, or maybe Jesse's avatar on a floating coin, as long as it's not mine. Excellent. We've got Tyler, who's asked a question in the chat. Does Elysium mostly package up the audit and then partner with developers to build those tools? Tyler, it's a really good question. We've got a number of different plans here. The Elysium product suite, the plan here is to have Ellie, who's the key agent who really orchestrates the 3-pillar process that we have. And those 3 pillars are the audit and discovery process, then the build and implementation process, and then an optimization and partnership process. The build and implementation process from Ellie's perspective is more about project management, more about understanding what you need to do to be able to deliver a solution that you've basically pitched and won through the audit process. Now, the reason why we're not getting Ellie to build the solutions is because the tech's not quite there yet. A lot of the solutions generally tend to be bespoke solutions. The tech will get there very quickly, I think. And so we're to borrow a phrase from Jesse, we're skating to where the puck's going, not where the puck is, right? And so I think where the puck is going here is more about understanding the problems and understanding the issues in the business and how the business does things before then trying to build a solution. When it comes to the building phase, Ellie will guide you through how to get the solution built, be that directly or indirectly through developers or whatever. Don't cry, Nick. It's okay. You'll still have things to do. But the important thing here is that we need to adapt to the tech as it adapts, right? And so Ellie is the agent that orchestrates that 3-pillar process, and then the plan is with Eva, who is the second kind of orchestration agent. Eva is all about that one-click deployment of a private infrastructure to be able to then run all of your automations and your AI components within. That's a big job. That's a really, really big job. And that's one that if we can solve that, which we hope to be able to, it's no doubt a bit of a home run. And we're going to be partnering with a number of other different businesses in the Thinkubator to try and solve that. Jesse, did you want to have make a comment in and around any of that, or?
No, so I met with a client this morning, one of my oldest clients, and Gina and I actually met with them, and we're showing them some cool stuff that's Johnny and Swear making. And it's just a good reminder that most people still don't have any idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So like when you're saying the tech's not quite there, by the time the tech is there, hopefully customers will understand they need it, right? Because right now, Johnny and Sway made a supermodel for Dunlop, one of my oldest clients, and it's awesome. And trying to explain it to them and realizing like they don't even know what a model is. So I'd be like, well, it's a custom LoRa model, and they're just like, so it makes drawings of that look like the drawings that we have in our brand, and you're like, oh fuck. So like we were talking about it afterwards, and there's just going to be such a steep curve of helping people understand that there's AI is more than just like ChatGPT, and you can actually use it in your business. And not only that, but it can actually help you sharpen your business, and it can help you bring in leads. And like, I think the educational funnel is actually going to be the trickiest part of this. You're going to need a lot of case studies like this one. And the coolest thing about Sean is partnered with us on this. So he's like, feel free to talk about this. We're going to make a documentary about it, all that kind of stuff. Because the learning curve, what you have is a whole bunch of CEOs saying we need to adopt AI right now, and no one on their team having any idea how to do that or what that even means or where to get started. You know?
Yeah.
And so we were talking to the director of marketing today, and we were just showing her kind of Comfy UI and how you can plug this stuff in. And she's like, yeah, so I can like plug this into Canva. It's like, yeah, you can plug this into Canva. Like, you know, always having to remind the people on this call are so far ahead of where most customers and small and medium of your target audience is so far ahead that like, I don't know, it just made me take a step back today. I was just like, gosh, how do we build top of funnel for something like this? You know? How do we show them what's possible?
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of the driving reasons why we started the audit process as a billable piece of work, right? Because we would go in, and effectively what we found when we started the agency was this whole process that we bill as an audit process, we were doing to pitch for the work, right? Because we wanted to build AI solutions. And we were finding we were doing weeks and weeks and weeks of understanding the business and getting to know the people in the business and the processes and what was it that we were trying to solve for. And that was just all part of the pitch, right? We hadn't been paid for it.
Yep.
And so to your point, when you walk into a business and you still have to sell the idea of an audit, right? Don't get me wrong. You've got to have your jazz hands out, you know, but being able to sit there and say, what you're going to get is a better understanding of your business so that you can then solve the issues in the business. That's going to remain, right? And that will become part of the education process. Sorry, Michelle.
And ultimately, I was about to say, your pitch became your product. That's what's, I think, so incredibly exciting about this.
Right.
Yeah.
I got a couple.
And it's unemotional.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a big thing for the CEOs. Like, this is unemotional. So it's going to give you an audit, and it might say you need to release this team, and it's run by your son. So you'll finally, at least most CEOs, their biggest problem is no one ever tells them the truth. Mikey can probably speak to this too. Like, they're surrounded by people that are always like hedging their bets and don't want to get fired. So usually you become friends with the CEO when you're like, that's actually a really bad idea. And they're like, wow, thank you for telling me that. So being able to give them a source of like unbiased truth, I think is also going to be a huge part of this. Mikey, what were you saying?
I was going to layer on, you actually need to know how to drink alcohol with them too. That's probably more of a factor. That's how I survived my CMO. But no, I don't have a ton of time, but I had 2 questions for you all. One, when are you ready to like me start kind of BDing for you and sending you clients? And then 2, when is your agentic marketplace going to be up? Because we're working with, Tom and I are working with Johnny and Sway on kind of some brand strategy, agentic capabilities, what fits all into your system. So we're talking about like, what does our partnership look like? And then obviously we want to support you guys as well too. So those are
your 2 products. Like, if you guys haven't seen, I don't know if you guys are ready to share it yet, Mikey, but like at least the snippet that I saw of the reports you guys are making,
it's insane.
Your 2 products work so well together that it would be good. Actually, Mikey, you should come on the show and do a demo for Poda and Alex and Ollie, like the way Gina did, about what you guys do, because I think you'll see it's almost like you guys are doing the head part and he's doing the heart part.
Yeah. You know? We will. We're actually, I want to talk to Nick too, because I need a little bit of help on like what's the appropriate way to create the RAG file and create the markdown file and to like kind of structure it so we're not making it inefficient. But like, we're already at a point, this brand strategy bot, it output like 150-page document. Like, it's like excessive. But we've tested it with 5 people. Every time they've gone through this, and they're like, this is unbelievable. Like, this is beyond spot on, like, and better than my wildest dreams could imagine. This is exactly what I've always wanted to create. And this is just step 1, right? Our ultimate goal is to get to, we're calling this the brand reflector, which is like help you evolve your business. Or if you don't even have a business idea, come up with a business with very, very minimal inputs. Like, even if you're like, you don't even know really what I want to do, questions, and it starts out putting some craziness. That's the intro conversation into the magic mirror, which is, who are you as a human being? And what is your mission, vision, and purpose for this world? And now let's align that to a new business. That's the end goal, but that gets into like very legal, and you know, when you start asking someone to look in the mirror and like have deep, dark conversations, things can get a little reckless. So we're not doing that. One, but I think it's one of the probably the biggest pandemic humans are about to face is complete loss of self. So we need to address it.
It's a fascinating conversation to have, and a much deeper one. To answer your 2 questions, Mikey, when are we going to be ready to take on clients? Hopefully very soon. We've got a space on the website where you can sign up to be on the beta testing waitlist. We've got a bunch of work that we need to do to make it look and feel the way that it needs to. We know that the mechanics of it works, which is good.
Okay.
The second question around the marketplace, it's a little further down the road, I think.
Okay.
We're really focusing on making sure that Ellie can run a really comprehensive, consistent audit process to begin with. The second piece, the rest of all of it is there, and it's working. It's about putting it in a product or productizing it properly to be able to have anyone come along and utilize it. But if people want to sign up to the beta program, get them to jump on the website. They can do it on the contact page or anywhere else where it kind of prompts you to. Or if you want to just get them to reach out to me directly, Mikey, that's fine. You've got my details.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, and I'm still going to link you up with my buddy Jason. He just wants to have a chat with you. I think you guys are really similar human beings, and they'll have a great conversation.
Right.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
I'm a snowflake. I'm unique. What do you mean? Awesome. All right. I think
Amazing.
we're coming up to time. We're a little bit over time. Did anyone else want to jump in quickly before we wrap this up?
I was just thinking what Mikey said was a great teaser for next week's show. If you guys are ready to come on, otherwise we can make a time anytime in the future, have you guys on and show off what you guys are building.
Yeah, it'll be like very simple, like text outputs. It's not going to have bells and whistles in the UI yet, but yeah, we absolutely can share it. I'll hit Tom up. I'll let you know if he can't make it, but he should be able to make it.
Yeah, I'll send you a DM.
All right, cool.
But just this week, when I was just trying to explain, I had a group with me of about 15 other female founders across different industries. And I was thinking about how I would explain it in simple terms. Have you seen that show where the CEO actually becomes an employee for like a week so that they can actually learn how their business works? I kind of pitched Ellie like that. I said, she's the equivalent. She's the equivalent of performing. Yeah, of that cycle. And I just said, absolutely, undercover CEO. She is your undercover CEO, and she's going to tell you what's actually going on in your business. And I think as someone that was in my business physically for, probably 60 hours a week, and in the last couple of years, for multiple reasons, I'm a lot more remote. I'm not in it day to day. The stuff I miss is extraordinary. It's extraordinary. Yeah, so very powerful. Incredibly powerful.
It's insane.
I love it.
I do have one last thing to layer on.
Go ahead, Mike. You do your last thing, and then I'll do mine.
So to layer onto what you said, Jesse, some of you know, some of you don't know, but I work for Allstate, and I do high level like business strategy sales, like from a program management level, and I'm in charge of testing out our first voice AI bot agent. And to Jesse's point, like I'm in room with the executives and leaders, and they can't even comprehend what's going on. It's just like the conversations is like I'm talking to a 5-year-old, and I put myself in such a position of power because I know what I'm talking about. It's just wild to see how clueless people are, and obviously, honestly, the first reaction is just everyone's terrified of losing their job. And nobody wants to embrace it and learn, which makes that moat even bigger, right? And I tell everybody, I'm like, dude, just download Claude in free version and start talking to it. That's literally all you need to do. And they won't even do that because they're just terrified. But it's happening like right now at that level. So I just wanted to add that too.
My visual ended up being a great visual from what Mikey just said. I was just going to make sure everybody saw this today. Has everybody seen this yet? So if NVIDIA is worth more than 2 Canadas, and most people in small business have no idea how to even use ChatGPT, can you imagine the opportunity of onboarding the world to a technology like this? I mean, all 54 African countries combined, the entire crypto market, Manhattan real estate market, all of it, Los Angeles real estate market, all of it. Like when we start to talk about how big NVIDIA is today, and that the main way this is going to be used is by businesses, and that I can't think of a single business that at least we've approached yet about Elysium that even has ChatGPT integrated.
Yeah.
So imagine when this thing catches on, think about the opportunity for building in this space. It's hard to like rock it,
Yeah.
Jesse, I haven't felt this excited since the last time I sat in a multi-level marketing presentation.
There you go.
This is real.
How are those 3 condos going, by the way?
Let's go.
Never been.
Never been.
What a great way to wrap up.
What a absolutely great way to end. Yeah.
Perfect.
Again, no, Nick, no one wants to buy some knives. Thank you. Again, a huge thank you to Gina for her time and effort taking us through everything today. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to round 2 on that in a few weeks' time. Mikey, would love to have you on next week if that's possible. If not, the following week. Again,
Tom up now.
Thank you. To everyone else who joined the call throughout, again, if you're a builder, let us know, reach out, come and show what you're building, let us know how it's going. If you're an aspiring agency owner, and you want to come up and talk about what you want to do and how you want to do it, please reach out. We'd love to have you on. Jesse, thanks for dropping in. It's always a pleasure, mate.
Thanks, Jesse. Thank you, Gina. Thank you for joining, everyone. Have a fab day. Thank you.
Thanks, peeps. See ya.